Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday and welcome to our weekly live chat. I call it Lattes with Laken because I typically have some sort of drink. This is our weekly live chat at 1 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday where we get together and I answer any questions that you have about goals, planning, or life. And it's just one of my favorite things. I cannot believe it's been almost 2 years since we started doing these, but I just absolutely love them. So hello to everybody watching live. Hi, I hope you're having a great day. And to everybody watching the replay, thank you so much. Let's kick it off with our first question, which is always, what are you drinking while we're hanging out today? If you're here live, drop it in the chat. What is it that you're sipping on? And if you are catching the replay, I want you to let us know down in the comments what you're drinking, if anything, while you're watching the replay. I have an actual latte, an actual hot latte. I feel like there's something going on with the heat in our apartment because it is freezing all the time right now in our apartment. So I'm very thankful for this nice warm drink. And now that I have dance on Wednesdays from 8 to 10 p.m., you heard that correctly. I am going to be dancing till 10 p.m. at night, which if you know me, I am a morning person that is way past my bedtime. And so I am very thankful for the extra boost of caffeine in this latte today. All right. Hello. Second coffee for the day. I love it. Water and Sierra Mist, orange juice, water, lots of water. Ooh, gin and tonic, Jenny, yum. That was always my Mimot's go-to drink was a gin and tonic. Water, tea, Gatorade, tea, dry January. Oh, Loretta, that is a big undertaking, but props to you. So fun. This is your first live all the way from South Africa. Welcome. Hello. I am here to answer any questions that you have about goals, planning, life, whatever it is. Drop your questions in the chat. If it is just a topic that you want to talk about, you're not quite sure how to phrase it into a question, then just say topic, and enter what the topic is, and we can just start chatting about that. It's my favorite time of day is just to sit here and chat with y'all. Amy, breakfast and Paris tea. That sounds delicious. Tammy, how did dance go? So just quick recap for those of you who it's your first time, or if you're not familiar, I did join a dance company. I actually joined the company years ago and did it for a couple of years, if you've been around that long, and then took a little bit of a break because I kept having conflicts. And then obviously the dance company in general had to take a break with everything going on. It picked back up last fall and I did the season that was last fall. There's 2 seasons a year, a spring and a fall season, and the spring season rehearsals started back up this week. I had my first set of rehearsals on Monday. So I'm in 4 dances total. Again, that's the max that you can be in is up to 4. You can be in less too if you choose to be, or you don't make 4 dances. But I'm in 4 dances. I'm doing all hip hop this season. I love tap dancing. But I just felt for my foot's sake, my ankle mobility is still not even close to 100%. My PT says I'm doing great, but I'm not at 100%. So hip hop just felt a little bit safer for me this season. And so I had 2 rehearsals on Monday and it was fantastic. It just felt so good to be back in the studio and it felt good. Everybody wears their mask. Everybody in the company is vaccinated and it felt good to be back around people that it was exciting and it felt good to be moving again. The first week is a lot of chatter and not as much dancing, which I was prepared for, but it still felt good to get moving again. So it was great. Oh, Amy, great question. What are your tips on how to get out of a mental health funk? I always get the post-Christmas blues and you're also sick. Okay, so first off, being sick is very different, I think, than trying to get out of a post-something blues, whether that's Christmas, winter, whatever it is. Sickness, take care of yourself. What does your body need? Is it rest, liquid? It's probably rest and liquids. Rest and liquids. Again, rest. Take the time that your body needs. Don't push yourself. Get healthy again. In terms of getting out of a mental health funk, 2 things here. Number 1 is don't compare yourself to everybody else. That is, I think, one of the things that can keep us down a lot more than needs to keep us down. And so if that means taking a break from social media, hiding people that you typically love, but right now, or they're talking about New Year's goals and resolutions, and you're like, I'm not there yet, mute, unfollow, seriously, like do what you need to do to not compare where you're at right now with what everybody else on the internet seems to be doing right now. And the other one is do what makes you feel like you. So what are the activities that make you just feel like yourself? Now, I realize some of those might not be possible right now. There might be limitations on that, but what is within your control? What makes you feel the most like you? For me, one of those things is dance. If I wasn't able to dance, that's one of the things I would try to go get to a dance class because I know that would make a difference, even if it's virtual, but working on something that makes you feel like yourself. Hello, everybody. Oh my God, another first timer. Welcome to your first live. Speaking of my foot, how is my foot healing? Thanks for asking, Mel. So quick recap for those who don't know, I did small fracture in my foot in October, 2 days before the dance show. I pushed through it for the dance show. Probably not the best decision I've ever made. I don't regret it in the slightest. And then I was in a boot for a couple of weeks. And now I'm in PT. It's getting much better. Like, it is much better. It's so when I first got out of the boot, I have a pretty strong point from all of my dance training. And so my left toe, I could point very normally, and my right toe, not even a little bit. It was very, very drastic. And now they're getting closer. It's, again, still not 100%. I can tell that my strength in my ankle and the muscles, all the muscles in my foot and my ankle are not at capacity. And my calf is so, so tight. But going to PT twice a week, doing my PT exercises at home, lots of stretching, lots of strengthening. I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there for sure. Ruby, how was your travel back from Chicago? Were you able to get out before the cancellations? We somehow managed, a lot of the cancellations happened actually the day before we left. They were all happening that Sunday. We happened to be booked for Monday. And then there were some more after that. It felt like we got very lucky that we chose to leave that Monday after Christmas. And that just happened to be a day that didn't have any cancellations. So we got home safe. Our flight was delayed, but not canceled. So we did get home safe and sound. Thank you for asking. This is a good question. I've had a lot of hard life events happen, desperately craving routine. How do you suggest starting routines without trying to do all the things? So I do have a video all about routines, and I will link it in the description when this live is over. That kind of gives you overall my tips on creating routines. But in this specific situation, you're craving some sort of routine, but without trying to do all the things. I would pick one thing that is a non-negotiable for each of these moments that you're craving a routine, right? It's probably the morning, maybe something in the middle of the day, maybe a transition from work to evening, and then maybe in the evening. And instead of trying to do an entire morning routine or an entire evening routine, pick one thing for each of those kind of checkpoints that is a non-negotiable. And when I say one thing, I mean a 1 to 2 minute task, something very, very small, but something that grounds you at each of those moments in your day. So what is that morning routine thing that can be this is the thing I make sure I do every morning that gives me a sense of routine and structure to start my day. This is something I do in the middle of the day, and then something I make sure I do every evening. And it can be as basic as brushing your teeth, something very simple, but just kicking that off and then giving yourself a check mark for it. I'm always here for the check marks, especially when it comes to routine. It just gives you that sense of accomplishment. I did this thing. Maybe in the morning it's making your bed. That's a good one. But giving you that, you can see the routine building. And then when you're ready, you can layer on another thing. Oh my gosh, Ruby, you're supposed to leave Sunday, got rebooked for Monday, and you just got back yesterday? Holy moly. That is a long extension. We would not have been prepared for that, both from a business standpoint and from poor Charlie. Allison, a topic about goal setting. Dream big or be realistic. How do we push ourselves out of our comfort zone? I feel like I could probably make a whole video on this by itself. It's a great, great question. So my initial advice is it depends on who you are. So I've given this example. I've talked about this as it pertains to setting shorter goals. Are you the kind of person that gets unmotivated when you don't see check marks? So if you realize halfway through the month that you're not going to check everything off on that goals list for the month, then next month I would encourage you to make it smaller, cut things off, leave empty space, make the list shorter. The same goes with to-do lists. If you're the kind of person that needs a really realistic to-do list, because if you get halfway through the day and you realize you're not going to check everything off on that to-do list, then you just give up on the day and you don't work on the rest of the to-dos, then you need to be focused on maybe the more realistic goals. On the flip side, if you're the kind of person that doesn't get unmotivated by the empty space and you're no, if I'm going to fill up every line of my power sheets and know very well that I'm not going to check all those things off, then you can likely dream bigger and think about those bigger aspects. Now, that doesn't mean that if you're picking the realistic option, you can't dream big, but set your goals at smaller, more realistic stopping points, right? Instead of, dream big might be, I want to own my own business. But your goal for the year is not start my own business. Your goal for the year is come up with the idea and the plan for the business, something smaller, more attainable. The other big thing here when you're debating this whole dream big, be realistic is we need, and I'm making a video on this soon, we need to stop putting so much pressure on the timelines for our goals. My mug says it all. I truly believe that anything that you want to accomplish can be accomplished on the right timeline. The truth is, though, we don't know what that timeline is going to be. Life is going to happen. Life is going to get in the way, and we're not going to know what that timeline looks like. And so when we put pressure on ourselves to do this by this date, then we are more likely to give up. So dream big, but without a timeline. And so you just keep working, keep making progress towards it, and not worrying about the am I on pace, because you're not worried about the pace, because the timeline is whenever you get there. Amanda, great question. If you have a lot of things to get done, but none of them are really a priority, which one would you do first? Shortest, easiest, longest, hardest? So for me, I start with the shorter, easier stuff because I like momentum. Momentum gets me through lots of things, especially the longer, harder things. So I start with the shorter things, easier, where I'm going to get that win. I'm going to check it off. And then I move into the longer, harder things, especially if none of them are priority. That's definitely where I start. I also lump into that shortest, easiest category, just things I'm excited about. Like, what on my list am I the most excited about? Let me do that first. I appreciate this compliment. Thank you very much. What do you think has been a game changer for you with maintaining a healthy lifestyle? So I think the biggest thing for me has been not going to the extreme and not worrying about being perfect and it's an all or nothing kind of day, week, month, year, right? I'm making smaller, better decisions along the way, and they're adding up, essentially. I'm not doing it every day. Every day is not perfect. Every month is not perfect, but my small decisions over time are adding up to success. Ooh, Loretta, great question. Tips on scaling back goals. I read 100 books in 2021, initially set my 2022 goal for 52 as I had other things I wanted to focus on. But 5 days in, I've already upped it to 100 again. So in general, scaling back is just another form of prioritizing, right? When you scale back one goal, just like you said, it's because you had other things that you knew you wanted to focus on. So for example, when it comes to businesses, right? I set a revenue goal for my business this year, knowing what I know about the year now, which could totally change. But what I know about my life this year, the trips that I'm taking, the fact that we're getting married, all those things, I set the revenue goal. In the future, once we start a family, it is very possible I'm going to set that revenue goal backwards. I'm going to have to scale backwards because I'm going to have something else going on big in my life. And that's just how you have to remind yourself. It is not that you are doing worse or failing by reading less books, which, by the way, 52 books is still amazing. That's a lot of books. It is you are prioritizing other things. So if you really do feel like you don't have the time to read those additional 48 books and accomplish all the other goals that you have set out for the year, then go back to that 52. It's totally fine. It is a prioritization shuffle, not I'm failing at reading books, right? It's kind of just a mindset shift. Alexis, I have a goal to enjoy fun things. Need some ideas for categories regarding this. So this goal is really going to be specific to what is fun to you. So ask yourself, what sounds fun? It's Annie Down's podcast and her book, What Sounds Fun. But really answer that question. What sounds fun to you? What did you do as a kid that you thought was fun? What makes you laugh? What makes you smile? What makes you happy? And that could be with people. It could be without people. Everybody's definition of fun is so different. And so you just have to define what is fun for you and then pick action steps that fall into those categories. If you do use the power sheets, I would encourage you to reference the page that's What Fires Me Up. That's a great page to reference in terms of what you think is fun. But again, just ask yourself, if I had a free day to do whatever I wanted, no limitations, no time, no location, no money, no limitations, what's fun? What sounds fun to me? And then you've got to scale it back, right, and be a little bit more realistic to what fits into your life in terms of setting action plans. I can't go see a Broadway show every week. That doesn't quite fit into my budget. But I can say that that's something I want to do for fun, and I'm going to do one a quarter or something like that. Heather, when planning annual goals, do you think about quarterly, monthly, and daily goals? Get stuck that annual goals are too big and daily goals feel too small. Great question. This is one of the reasons why I think setting really specific annual goals, like I am going to get to this point by the end of the year, is somewhat setting us up for failure because we have no idea where we're going to be, which is why I like to keep things a little bit vaguer in terms of what I am shooting for the entire year. So most of the time when I'm setting my annual goals, I'm not thinking what my daily, monthly, and quarterly goals are going to look like. I'm just taking my Power Sheets prep work and I'm setting what I want to accomplish this year relative to other things. Do I feel like this is reasonable? And then when it comes to setting quarterly, monthly, daily, I get much more realistic and I get really realistic about what I can do on each of those scales and then reassess, right? So you set those monthly and daily goals. And then at the end of the month, you see what that progress did. That daily goal might feel really small, but you might be really, really surprised at how much of an impact it adds up to at the end of the day. Like at the end of the month, you might be really shocked at how much it adds up. So keep going on those daily goals, those small daily goals, because that's where the magic is. So at the end of the month, you reevaluate and you're like, okay, so either I did all of my monthly and daily goals. Awesome. I can work at that same level the next month, or maybe I can level it up a little bit, or maybe those didn't work out so well and I actually need to make them a little bit smaller. And I'm still kind of on pace for my annual goal. I feel like after 1 month, you can't really tell if you're on pace for your annual goal. You kind of got to wait a couple of months into it, but you can kind of get a feel for like, okay, how are we going? How are we doing? How are we trending towards our annual goals? And that's where the quarterly refreshes do have benefit, is you get in there after 3 months and you're like, okay, here where I set my annual goals 3 months ago. Yep, this is still good. I'm going to keep it the same. Nope, there's no way I'm going to do that. Cross it off completely. Or no, I'm not going to achieve it at that level. Let me change it. Or I've also added some in sometimes the quarter, like you just life changes. And that's the benefit of the refreshes. So for now, especially if you've already set your annual goals, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Focus on your daily actions that you've set, and then you can reevaluate at the quarter. That was a lot of like rambling. I don't know if that answer was succinct and helped you in any way. Monica, I love this. I've said this before. I'm not a morning person, so my morning routine so far is simple goals, and in the evening it's longer and more tends to goals. I love that. That's always my answer when someone asks, I'm not a morning person. How do I create a morning routine? And I'm like, you don't. You keep it very simple and you focus on your evening routine. Oh, Allison, I love this. I finally downloaded the Routinery app and I love it. It has been so helpful to map out my morning routine, keep me on track, and let me know how much time I have left still. Yeah, me too. I love my Routinery app. Debbie, I have a weight loss goal for 2022 and I've broken it down to how much I want to lose monthly. How would you break down weekly and daily goals using Power Sheets? So, number one, I want to clarify that I think that if you are going to set numerical goals, it really would benefit you to have it be something that is 100% within your control. And unfortunately, the number on the scale is not 100% within your control. So it is really difficult to say like you're going to break your monthly weight loss goal down into weekly and daily goals. I would not. I would leave if you're going to have a monthly weight loss goal, just leave it at monthly and don't worry about weekly and daily. When it comes to weekly and daily actions, focus on the things that you can control. Your sleep, your water, your food intake, your movement, the things that you know can have a positive impact on that weight loss goal without worrying about the number on the scale every day and every week. Rachel, any new recipes or healthy food that you can recommend? I'm wanting to make more crock pot meals so that dinner doesn't take as long, but I'm also vegetarian, so I don't know where to look for recipes. So I just learned this recently because somebody commented on a video and I didn't know, but the person that creates the cookbook that I love, Fed and Fit, has a blog with lots of recipes. And I just like literally pulled some for my meal plan this upcoming week too. I'm meal planning on a Wednesday, which feels weird because that's how our schedules are right now. So I go there. Honestly, the internet's just like a beautiful place. I am sharing a little bit more about meal planning in the vlog coming Friday. I almost said tomorrow. It's 2 days away. But just I would Google and then try not to pressure yourself to find all the recipes right away. right? What I try to do is I try to do 1 or 2 new recipes a week, and then 1 or 2 like things that I know we like and are good. And then if the 1 or 2 recipes that we're trying new is good, then it can move into the things that we like, or it didn't work and I never do it again. A book recommendation for the fun goal. It's called The Power of Fun. Thank you, Susan. How do I make time for my goals when I'm starting a new full-time job? So I do have a video on time management, like time management for goal setting, that I would recommend going back and watching and referencing. My biggest advice or tip in this scenario is maybe right now your goals are taking a little bit of a backseat, because right now your number one goal is getting adjusted and getting a good start at your new job that you're focusing on. And that's true for a lot of different seasons of life. There's going to be times that other goals take a backseat because we have a new goal that we're starting to focus on. Sorry, I have like a hair in my mouth that will not come out. That said, if you want to make sure that you keep that momentum going without giving up on your goals completely, first, pick the goal, maybe 1 or 2 goals that are your number one priority that you don't want to drop the ball on. I heard this great analogy once that was talking about juggling balls, right? Or plates. I've heard it both ways. And it's some of them you can drop and they're like plastic and they'll bounce and they won't break, and you just drop them and you can go pick them back up when you're ready to pick them back up. But some of them are glass, and if you drop them, they're going to fall apart. So you can't juggle all the balls. So which ones are you going to keep? And then shrink the action steps down to much, much smaller, so that they are every day. It just feels like it's not even a question whether you're going to do that, right? It's read 1 page of a book or do 1 downward dog, right? It's so small that you're going to for sure do it, and just commit to doing that minimum to keep that momentum going. That way, when you are out of this phase where you're really focused on your new job and you feel comfortable there, then you can jump it back up from 1 page to 10 pages or whatever you want it to be. Oh, I love this comment. I walked a mile every day this year, 5 days in, and I feel amazing. Before I thought I needed to go all in or not at all. I love that. You're welcome. Any advice on telling your partner no? I struggle watching TV with them or hanging out with them and then not getting my goals done. There's just not enough time to feel like it feels like to do both. So it's not necessarily a no. It's a conversation in advance about planning those things out, right? So what we try to do is we plan in advance where the white space is. And sometimes that white space is us hanging out together. And sometimes it's us doing our own separate things, but at least it's there. That way, if we are we want to watch the same movie or the same football game or the same TV show, then we can do that together. But I'm scheduling both my goals and the white space. Now, I understand, especially for you with a full-time job and a YouTube channel, that you probably feel like there's not time for both. Because I've been there. I was there before everything shut down, where I didn't feel like there was time for both. And honestly, at that time in my life, most of the time that Sam and I spent together was outside of the home, at events, at shows, at parties, at restaurants, bars. It was not at home hanging out, because between both of our jobs and my business on the side, we just didn't do that. So I don't necessarily have the best answer for you in that scenario, except that if you want that to also be a goal to spend time with her, then it is going to take adjusting some of the other things, right? And lowering some of the goal time so that you have time to be with them. Hope that was helpful. Loretta, great question. How do you deal with goals when you aren't in control of the timeline? 2 of my big goals this year are to either get a promotion or get a new job, and to move, both of which I have limited control over. That can still be the overarching goal, right? And I feel like saying them within a year is pretty reasonable, and maybe that's not true, but I do feel like saying within a year is a reasonable enough timeline that you aren't going to feel like you failed. But even if the overarching goal feels like it's something that's not within your control, you just need to break it down into action steps that are within your control. right? And so that you are making progress towards that goal within your control, and then give yourself the check marks, giving yourself the I did it, I'm working on this goal, I'm making progress, even though I don't know when or if, but I think the answer for you will be when I'm going to see the result, but I'm going to keep working on what I need to be working on. Christy, I've been thinking of trying the Dinner Fix or the Cook Once Eat All Week cookbook. Did you prefer one or the other? So full disclosure, the Cook Once Eat All Week cookbook I used for like pretty regularly for 18 months, like from the middle, I don't know, June of 2020 through like December of 2021. Okay, maybe I quit a little bit earlier than that. And then Dinner Fix just came out in the fall and I only used it once. From a structural standpoint, the Cook Once Eat All Week had a way more prep on the weekends, but then the dinners during the week were much shorter, which some weeks that structure works really well for me. If we're here on the weekends, I'm okay spending 2-3 hours in my kitchen on Sundays getting everything prepped for the week. And then I would prefer to only be in the kitchen for a short period of time during the weekday. However, that didn't work every week, because it worked every week from June of 2020 to December of 21 because we never went anywhere on the weekends. However, as we get back into like regular life, it doesn't work for me if we're not here on the weekends. So in that case, the Dinner Fix one is a better fit for me if we're gone on the weekends. So if you have weekend time to prep, Cook Once Eat All Week. If you don't, Dinner Fix. But be aware that the Dinner Fix recipes, a lot of them, at least when I skimmed through them, do have a pretty significant amount of time in the kitchen in the evenings, if I'm being honest. I need to go through the weeks again and maybe like pick the ones that I really feel like will fit my life, because some of them were like an hour on the weekday and I'm not spending an hour on dinner in the weekday, truthfully. So I almost did last night because the salmon took forever to cook, but like I wasn't actually in the kitchen. It was just in the oven. So that's kind of, it depends. For my life, it depended on the week. And so I think about your life and how it's structured and which one of those systems will fit better in your life. Hey, Amy, I'm struggling with cleaning plans. I suck at doing daily and frankly don't want to clean every single day, but I also don't want to clean all day on Saturday. Have you found something yet? Yeah, I found that I'm using a cleaning service right now. That's just I made it work in the budget. I sacrificed some other things because right now it's just not a priority for me to figure out, at least through the wedding. I'm not worrying about it. So that is and I found a service here where not only did I find a service where every cleaner that they would send is fully vaccinated and wears their mask the whole time, but I also found a person that I love her so much. And so I just have been using her, and I keep consistently having her come back, and that is what's working for us right now. So oh, Ruby, this is a great addition to that analogy. Some of them are rubber wrapped glass, as in they're important, but they could bounce a couple of times if dropped, right? You can drop them a little bit, but not all the time. I love that. Amy, I love this. All of your daily habits have a 1 to 2 minute version so you can keep momentum if you're sick or super busy or having a rough day. I love that. And can we talk about how to schedule things that we don't know all the steps to achieve? I often don't know what I don't know and find things taking way longer than expected. Absolutely. I've said this to you, I know for sure. And just in general, sometimes the first step is researching how to figure out the rest of the steps, because there are going to be a lot of goals that we don't know. But to your point that things end up taking longer than you expected, that's when having the flexibility to pivot or like adjust at whatever point, whether that's weekly or monthly or quarterly, is really, really important. And I'm finding that with business stuff right now, right? I have a plan mapped out for the year of what I'm going to, like, that sounds crazy to me, but like the whole year, like projects I'm going to work on every month for the rest of the year. But it is very possible that I get to one of those things and I don't get it done in a month, and I've got to push something the next month to keep going. Now I do have some extra space in the last quarter of the year for that purpose, that if things get pushed or new ideas pop up, I have the space for it. So I think it's just the willingness to push the other things back if you find that things are taking longer, or in that moment, if you want to continue working on this thing that's taking longer, what in your day is something that you could let go of that day? Kate, looking to buy a house, so saving money is definitely a goal this year. What are some things that I could do to help with this goal? So finances, like for sure, I have ideas and I will rattle some of them off, but I would go watch some of like the people that talk about budgeting and finance, right? Like Shay Budgets. I love her channel and talking about savings. She does that a lot on her channel. I think from my goal brain, couple of things. Number one is tracking it somewhere. Being able to, I feel like I talked about tracking a lot today, being able to shade it in, to cross it off, check it off, see the progress that you're making, because even if you look at your bank account every day, all you're doing is seeing the number and you're not seeing where you were and where you're going, right? So being able to see like a bar or a checklist or shading in how close you're getting to that goal is really, really powerful. I found that really helpful for me when I was paying off debt. Number two is, for me at least, is prioritizing what you want to prioritize, but don't just like cut everything together. And I know there are some financial gurus who disagree with that life choice, but I think that like you're going to be more successful if you are still living your life and prioritizing the couple of things that are important to you and then letting go of the things that aren't important to you to save that money. And then keeping it at the forefront of your mind in some way, shape, or form. So whether that is the background of your phone says something about it, or a picture of a house that you might want to buy, or you just like the look of the house, right? Or your computer background, or a sticky note on your bathroom mirror, or just reminding yourself regularly of what you are working towards. That way it gets into your brain. And then when you are making a decision to buy something or not to buy something, your brain is like, okay, but you're saving for a house. Okay, you're right. I don't need that thing and I'm saving for a house. That is what I did a lot when I was saving to quit my job, is I was like, okay, I put reminders of it everywhere, which was really difficult to like not show the world those reminders, but I put reminders of it everywhere. And then when it came time to make a financial decision where it was going to be either like, you can have this thing or you can save it and like be more secure when you quit your job, it was like, okay, like those are my options. So I hope that some of those things help. Crystal, I know you said you don't want to be a business channel, but I would like your take on how to break down the goal of launching the business. I have some admin tasks, financial tasks, feeling stuck. Yeah. So one of the reasons why I don't necessarily want to become a business channel is this is out there, right? There are channels that talk about this, and why my mind is like drawing a blank on like someone to send you to like learn about this. I don't know where that is coming from, but there are people that do talk about this, and you can find these answers from people who that is what they talk about. That is their specialty. And when it comes to launching a business, my biggest piece of advice is going to be to just start. I still don't know all the admin and financial tasks that I need to do. I'm still learning all of that every single day. The best way to learn is to do and to start and then learn as you go. And it will come up and then you will figure it out and you'll reshuffle priorities because you realize you needed to include this task and you weren't, so on and so forth. So just keep that in mind, that like you're not going to know all the tasks before you start. And you're not like breaking down the goal. It's going to be really hard to break it all down until you start actually trying things in your business. I'm also totally willing to talk about this stuff one-on-one, by the way. Like starting a business, I actually have 2 different one-on-one people I'm working with on like building a business. It's just not something that I foresee myself talking about on the channel. Alexa, if you can justify getting a Roomba, it's on the wedding registry. So fingers crossed. Heather, this is a great question. How do you stay disciplined? I'm excited about my goals. I know my why, but then I don't follow through. Maybe it's a lack of a reminder or the lack of planning. So it can be a lot of these things. And this is like a whole section in Accelerate Your Goals is like follow through. There's a whole module on follow through. So it could be a number of reasons. It could be that you know your why, but that why is not actually motivating you. Like it's not actually inspiring. I would encourage you to keep digging a little bit deeper to maybe find a bigger why. It could be that it's too big. The goal is too big and you need to shrink it down a little bit so that it doesn't feel so overwhelming, because when you go to follow through on it, maybe your body is like, that's too big. I can't do that. So you just don't do it ever. It could be that you forget. That is a very real scenario that people forget that their goals exist, and you've got to remind yourself. That's why I like keeping my power sheets front and center, like on my desk. I see them every day. That's why like I get multiple check marks for things, because sometimes I see one thing and not the other. I was telling a client yesterday, when I work out right now, I get 3 different check marks. Like I check it off in 3 different places, and it feels like overkill maybe, but it not only motivates me to do it, but it also, I see it in all those different places, and it reminds me how important it is to me right now. And then lack of planning, I think maybe what you're getting at is that you're not scheduling time for your goals, which is the last reason I always say people don't follow through, is you're not actually scheduling time, which was my number one fault when I first started setting goals. Is I would set all these beautiful resolutions, and then I would never actually schedule time to do them. Like I would never actually put those things in my planner. So making sure that you're taking the goals that are important to you and putting time on the calendar to get them done. I hope that was helpful. I love this. Guys, we are totally adding on to this ball analogy. If you have a partner, sometimes there are balls that they can take on to help you keep things in the air. I've handed a lot of wedding balls over to Sam recently, and it was hard, but important. Jenna, great question. Do you go through the Routinery routines on your phone or on your watch? I do them on my phone. I used to do it on my watch, but I honestly right now keep my watch on theater mode at all times, because I found it was unhealthy how often I was looking at my exercise stats. So it's on theater mode at all times. So you can see it's always black unless I click on it. So I do my Routinery all on my phone. Mackenzie, I recently came up with a long-term goal of mine is to eventually work for myself, but I have no idea what I would be doing and have no idea how to come up with those ideas. I would start with a couple lists. Number 1, what are the things that you like to do? And number 2, what are the things that you're good at? And see where those intersect and see if that gives you some ideas. Welcome from Italy. I'm so excited that you're catching the live. I am great. Thank you for asking. Hello, hello. So many new people. My Roomba changed my life. Yeah, I'm hoping. Okay. Okay, I think I'm all caught up on questions. I'm scrolling down, but it looks like all of you are in there giving each other advice and recommendations, talking about how much you love your Roombas and how much I'm hoping somebody picks it from somebody already picked from the registry, y'all, a litter robot. I'm so excited. I am so excited to not have to clean a litter box. But we're having, 2 things got shipped here because I forgot to change the address, but we're having all of the registry stuff shipped to my mom to get put in storage. So I'm not actually going to get any of the fun things anytime soon, but I'm really excited about them. I can see them being purchased. Lisa, I want to ask your highlight, but I know it's dance. Anything else? From the last week, yeah, I had a business call yesterday. I know that's not a very exciting highlight, but it was a coach that I'm working with. We had our kickoff call yesterday, and I was a little bit hesitant to spend the money on this particular service, but I'm so glad. It was fantastic. That was 2 days ago, Laken. It was Monday. It doesn't matter. It was amazing. It was worth every penny, and I'm so freaking thankful that I did that. That was my highlight. Ruby, when do you think of moving to Chicago? We're still discussing that timeline. I'm not sure I'm ready to share that yet. Rachel, that makes it more fun. I unboxed all of our wedding gifts from April 2021 into our new house, and it was glorious. That's kind of what the plan is, right? We're going to move, and then we're going to unbox all the things there. And it's just like, but it's kind of a sad. I want the things. I want the litter robot for sure. But it doesn't make sense for us to get all these things and then pay to move them. That's so silly. Oh, my biggest goal is to get to New York someday over Christmas and the New Year season to finally have snow for Christmas and see Times Square. So number 1, highly recommend New York at Christmas. It's beautiful. It's magical. No guarantees of snow. We hardly get snow, period, in the city, let alone we don't get it that early. If we get snow, it's usually later in the winter. So you will get beautiful, magical New York City at Christmas time, but you're probably not going to get snow. What are you looking forward to most this week and this month? So this week, Besides dance, dance being back was my really big thing for this week. Yeah, that's pretty much it that I'm working on this week. I don't know. It's also like really nice of like the first full week of like really working for myself and like feeling what that feels like without having Vlogmas going on has been really, really nice. This month is my bachelorette party. And so that is the thing I'm looking forward to the most this month. Crystal, do you plan to keep sharing steps to start a family or plan to keep it private? There's going to be a balance here for sure. I'm definitely going to continue to share things as they show up in my power sheets, but there are going to be pieces of it that I obviously and definitely keep private, not just for my benefit and Sam's, but also it's a really sensitive topic. And I don't want anyone to feel any sort of way about what I'm sharing, right? I don't want anyone to feel like good or bad or whatever based on what I share and the timelines and all of those things. So I will be sharing some of it, but not all of it. We'll see how it goes. Debbie, I entered my routines into Routinery, but can't get into the habit of using it. How do you use it beyond putting your routines in? So it is a habit that you definitely have to start working on. I think one of the biggest things though is starting smaller. So if you've entered your routine and it's all new steps, the overwhelm in general that you're feeling to like do that routine in general is also going to hinder your use of the app. So I would recommend don't delete it, like have that routine there so that you can always reference it, but like create a routine that's got like one step or two really small steps. You can get into the habit of opening the app and clicking off that routine. And then you can start to layer on more steps into the Routinery app. And then once you get going with that, it usually helps. I also have the notifications turned on for most of my routines. So a little pop-up comes on my phone that's like, do this routine. And so that does help for some of them. I don't necessarily need it anymore, but it was helpful at the beginning. And then just making it like you might need a reminder somewhere else temporarily, right? So maybe it's a sticky note by your toothbrush that says, use your Routinery app, or on your computer laptop, or whatever your routine is related to, like reminding yourself to use the app somewhere that's not your phone. Lynn, thank you for a wonderful group coaching session yesterday. It was so helpful. I'm so glad, Lynn. Thank you for being the guinea pig to go first yesterday. And then the follow-up question, how do you access the group coaching session? So this is the first time I'm trying group coaching in this capacity with this content. And so I just opened it up to the Patreon community because I wanted to give them first access. And I knew this first group was going to be really small. And I ended up only taking 6 people because I wanted to make sure that I was giving them all that I could give them within the time construct. I don't know why that sounded so weird. I couldn't get that out. So this is the first go around. Depending on how this goes and how things are at the end, I will likely launch another one, maybe 2 more later this year. I will tell you, I will always be, sorry, I'm going to delete this person that keeps asking me what time it is. I will always offer it to the Patreon community first. That is just one of the perks of being in the Patreon community, is that when I have new stuff, especially stuff that has limited options, limited offers, I'm always going to give it there first. So if you aren't a member of the Patreon community, it is linked down below. It's a great time to join. We have our January live Q&A on Saturday, and then all kinds of other fun things coming later this month. And so you can join the Patreon community, and then you will get all the information about the next round of group coaching. It's probably going to start like end of March is what I'm aiming towards for the next one. Just FYI, in terms of timing, basically between the wedding and the time that we go to my friend's wedding in Ireland. That's going to be my chunk of time. Amy, in Routinery, before you start the routine, you can swipe right and skip an action before you even start. I sometimes do that if I'm running late, so I can at least do something but keep it shorter. Yeah, I also have no guilt in Routinery, just skipping things. Like just being like, nope, I'm not doing that today. Thanks, next. And Routinery, if you care about the streak, still gives you credit, even if you don't do the whole routine, which is amazing. And like one of the biggest perks of that, if the streak matters to you. But that is a good tip as well. Thanks, Amy. Susan, do you ever feel stressed when using Routinery? So no, but also because most of the time, I don't necessarily care how long it takes. Like I have the times in there to help me gauge approximately how long I have. But if something takes me longer or something takes me less, it doesn't really bother me. I just like keep going. And there's two things you can do to help with that. One of the things that I do is I have the last step in my routine is what I call like a fluctuating time length, and it's reading. And so if everything took the exact amount of time, then I have 20 minutes to read at the end of my routine. But most days things take less or more time, and I like laid in bed longer and didn't get out of bed. I've broken up with the snooze button, but sometimes I lay there for a little bit before I get out of bed. Then I just read less until I get to the time. And then, or sometimes I'll read more if I have more time, but I let that last step be something that I can very easily do less of if I take more time than on one or more of the things. Another tip here though, is to close out of it. Don't close out of the app, but close it out, like hide it. Why is that so weird? Hide it on your phone. Like you click next and then close the app so you don't see it. So you don't see the seconds counting down. And then you'll still get a notification when it's time to move on to the next one. But it might not stress you out as much. And if you're not done, just finish it up and then go to the next one. Or if you finish early, then you go click on the thing and you go to the next one. Yeah, lots of great tips for Routinery. I'm loving it. You accomplished a big tree today. Lisa, I love that. I am so bad at the shrieks that I just like don't even care anymore. Was Plan to Eat the only app you looked into for meal planning? Yeah, it was. It was just somebody posted about it and that they were having a Black Friday sale. And I was like, this sounds like something I want to use. So I didn't really do a whole lot of research there. But so far, so good. I'm really liking it. All the digital things, man. I went meal planning digitally. I went budgeting digitally. Like, who am I? I've always budgeted digitally. I don't know why I said that. Crystal, could you do a video on how you break down plan your trips, vacations? Probably not, because I don't really do a good job of this. I don't plan them out very well in advance. Even when we like travel internationally, I'm still not the best planner in advance. As Sam, we like got to where did we go? And he was like, so what's the plan for the day? And I was like, there isn't one for today. Like today, there wasn't a plan in that city. And he was like, what? Because the other city was very well planned out. So I'm not always the best about this. So I'm not sure I'm the best. Again, there are channels that are dedicated to travel that likely have great videos about this topic. Debbie, another Routinery question. Do you use the timer? So for some of them I do, and for some of them I don't. Again, for some of them, it's just to get an estimate of how long it's going to take. And then for some of them, when the timer's up, I immediately just move on to the next one. And this is also a good tip, Amy, and something I was thinking about too is giving yourself extra time when you first get started so you're not stressed about the timer countdown. What app service did you decide to use? So right now I'm using You Need a Budget. I am not going to share any more about that besides the name, because I'm not an expert. I've only been using it for 2 months. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm still trying it out. I don't know that I have a love affair with it like a lot of people do. So I am sharing that cautiously to tell you that like, that is what I am trying right now, but like, I don't know much about it. Have you ever done a favorites review video? It sounds like you've got a lot of great recommendations. Well, I do a favorites video every quarter right now. So you can go back and watch all those quarterly favorites videos. And I talk a lot of the things that have come up today, I've talked about at some point in one of those favorites videos. I don't know if I've ever considered doing like I don't know if there was like a general favorites, potentially. I'm working on a goal of improving my wellness, but I get discouraged because I know I will never get the end result I really want. I know there are still benefits, but it's difficult to let go. Honestly, I mean, everybody's health and wellness journey is going to be different. So if whatever it is that you want is not attainable, then you need to change what it is that you want. Because if you are going to continually work towards something that you know you'll never get there, then it's just going to keep discouraging you, and you're going to be way more likely to give up despite the other benefits. So I would encourage you to redefine what it is that you want. Deirdre, it's called You Need a Budget, or YNAB. It's worth the learning curve. Okay. I appreciate that. Right now, I'm really still at the bottom end. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos and I've fresh started twice because I'm just struggling. But we'll see. Speaking of vacations, I'm going to try to use all of my PTO for the year, but I don't want to spend money to go somewhere else because you're saving for your house, like we talked about earlier. How often is recommended to take a day or two off? I think it depends on what works best for you. Do you benefit from like, do you think you would benefit more from extended time off? Like, does it take you time to get into a relaxation state? If so, maybe take a whole week off and just stay at home and like have a week off of not working. Or are you someone who benefits from like the little pockets of time and can immediately get into like relaxation or take that time to work on another goal? And in that case, maybe it's like once a week or once every other week, depending on how much paid time off you get. Like I know that my boss, when we got to the point in 2020 when he had lots of extra vacation time that he wasn't going to use, he took like every Friday off, and that was like just his plan to do them, and he loved it. So just figuring out what works best for you. So I don't know what you mean by recommended. If it's like, I think it depends on what what would benefit from, and what are you going to use those PTO days for, right? Are like, I use a lot of PTO days in 2020 and 2021 for the business. Like I worked on Plan with Laken, and so I liked them just randomly throughout the month. If you're going to use it for like, let's say you want to do an entire house declutter, right? Because you're going to be buying a house and potentially moving, then maybe it's a whole week and you do that whole thing for a week. Are you just using it to rest? Are you using it to work on other goals? You know, what is it that you're working on? Oh my gosh, lots of comments on YNAB. Loving it. Changed my life. Love it. Loretta, thoughts on the Harry Potter reunion? I loved it. I was going to share this on Instagram, but like I couldn't get the wording right and decided it was just unnecessary. But I am like the perfect age that I was the same age as the characters when the movies came out within a year or two. Like within a year on either end, I was the same age as the characters. So it just has a really special place in my childhood and like growing up basically with the characters on screen. And I read the books too. I read the books, but the books I was younger than when the books were released, obviously, because the movies came out later. So, and the actors were all kind of the same age. And so seeing them all talk about it and like come back and just seeing that they were all, at least everybody that was there, was like a genuinely kind person. And like, it was just really, to me, it was just really special. And I cried a lot, especially at the end. When they started crying, I was like, okay, stop. Oh, this is a good tip. Try find things that are inexpensive, free to locally enjoy for that PTO. I love Routinery. My downfall is that I inevitably start adding time over and over to a task that's already done because I just don't want to move on. That's tough. I mean, you've got to get it to work within what works for you and your life. Lisa, my goal for PTO this year is to schedule 1 or 2 weeks off, then a day every other month to recharge. Sounds like a great plan. Yeah, I feel like it's just figuring out what you want to use it for and then mapping it out over the year about what works for you, especially if you're not going to travel with it. All right, I'm all cut up again on comments. My coffee is very cold, y'all. It's just been a constant stream of questions. It's been great. You guys always have the best questions, y'all. I don't know how, I don't know how we do it every week. I mean, it's been almost 2 years. Okay. And when I first started these, I legit was concerned that like nobody would show up every week to talk to me or we would run out of questions and things to talk about. Like we would not have, and they started out as a half hour because I was like, well, you can't possibly do a whole hour. Now here we are. Oh my gosh, I love this. My favorite Harry Potter memory was going to the midnight release of the 7th book and then not moving from a specific armchair. I did that a lot with the last bunch of books. I went to the midnight release. I have a specific friend from like my childhood and high school. We would go to the releases together and then also the midnight movies. I think I started with it may have been the like 6, 7, and 8. I went to the midnight ones. Maybe it was 5. There was one year, one midnight movie, and I don't remember which one it is, that we went to, and we dressed up as the characters. And there were like 20 of us in my friend group. It was all the like theater kids from high school. And we dressed up as the characters. I was Molly Weasley. My hair was already red at the time. So it must have been the 7th one, the first one of 7. And the newspaper was there to like cover the midnight opening and like took a picture of us, and we were in the newspaper, the local Chicago suburb newspaper. But it was very cool. It was very cool. Lisa, I think there are days that we could talk for 2 hours. No, I think that's very true. Totally true. Nicole, I did talk about this last week, the Sex and the City reboot. So you can go back and rewatch that. We talked about it a little bit more. I like it. I know that everybody has feelings about it. Is it the best thing on TV? No. But if you liked the show and watched the show, I'm here for it. All right, y'all. We are getting close to the end. So if you have any last minute questions, you can pop them in the chat. But I want to make sure that I ask you my last question that I always ask you, which is, what is one thing that you will do this week to make progress on your goals? Just one small thing that you can do to take action and make progress on your goals. Monica, this is a good question. If when you took PTO for your side hustle, how did you just avoid being on the nonstop hamster wheel? When I did that, then I use my weekends to relax and rest instead of using my weekends for my side hustle. Yeah, that's what I did. Schedule debt payments. Love that. Knit the baby blanket for your cousin. Oh, that's so fun. Just a reminder that any small step making progress towards your end goal is progress. Progress is progress. It doesn't have to be huge. Continue walking on your new treadmill. Finish December daily. I'm working on finishing up mine too, Rachel. I need to finish it up and take a long bubble bath. Fill out my January tending list. It's not too late. I love that that's your action step. Break down the steps to learn a new editing software. Amanda, that's hilarious. New printer delivered today. Amy, that's so exciting. Oh my gosh. Create your list of questions for your realtor. I love that. Saying no, not maybe. Oh, that is a good one. Do your delayed morning routine. I love that. Work on an online course. Drink your water. Pick one thing for a morning routine and one thing for an evening routine. Check in with your power sheets. A phone-free dinner with your husband. I love that one. Finish your goal setting. Get your March cards done so you're done with first quarter. Maggie, that's amazing. I literally today just sent the first birthday gift of January. Like, I haven't even thought about February or March yet, or the end of January. Doing your weekly reflections. I love that. Linda, thank you for including your name. Finish all the January things so you can start fresh next week. I love that. Going to Nicaragua. I know it's not small, but with your husband. I love that. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful trip. Finish your power sheets prep work. It's okay to still be working on it. Take your time. If you need the entire month of January to finish your prep work, whether it's power sheets, Moxie Life, whatever it is, take the entire month of January and start with a tending list in February. Go through junk mail. That's a good one. Started today on your health goal by drinking 32 ounces of water. Laken made me buy 2 bottles of straws. Hey, straws are the best, you guys. Checking out YNAB. Love that. Continuing your routines. Review your tending list. Finish your group coaching homework. I love it, Lynn. Calling your health insurance company. Even putting that off. Oh, man. The things that we put off, but then they like really don't end up taking that much time. All right, y'all. That is going to be it for this week. I hope that you found this helpful. Come back every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern. We chat. If you wouldn't mind giving this video a thumbs up before you head out, I would greatly appreciate that. And if you're new here, click that subscribe button. I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday focused on helping you achieve your goals. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me.